Oh no, I gotta pull it up. Oh no. Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababa. Genuflect, show some respect down on one knee. Now try your best to stay calm. Brush up your Sunday salam. Then come and meet his spectacular coterie. I watched a lot of movies. In fact, so many fucking movies that this episode is not a regular Mitch's Minute. It is, in fact, a new segment I like to call Mitch's Mega Movie Minute, in which I talk about nothing but movies the entire time. Because guess what? It's been 2 weeks, and in that 2 week span, I have seen just so many movies. Just so many.
So many movies and so many episodes of Gumball.
That's right. I forgot to add that one, actually, funny enough. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of movies in this episode. Here's the deal. There is going to be some spoilers, but how this is going to work is this. We're going to move backwards. So, for example, the first one off the bat is Detective Pikachu. And then every movie, like, we're going in essentially the order of release. So we're starting with Godzilla, Godzilla. We're starting with Detective Pikachu, the Jane Doe, and then Aladdin, and then the final movie is Godzilla King of Monsters. If you haven't seen it, there you go. I'm honestly, I'm just stalling for time so I can upload the link everywhere.
Upload the image. Yeah. The first one is Detective Pikachu, which I'm sure most have already watched.
Yes.
Let's be honest, it's been forever and we're super late to the party.
Exactly. So let me go ahead and start getting this show underway by getting that. Yeah, it's Pikachu. Look at him. He's so cute. Okay, so here's a quick plot synopsis. Everyone lives in a Pokemon world, and they need to figure out, a boy and a Pikachu need to figure out what happened to his father. And the Pikachu is a detective and wears a cute hat and does cute things, and he's real cute. He's voiced by Ryan Reynolds, which was, I want to say,
oddly fitting.
Yeah, I wanted to say, going into this, it was kind of hard to hate it. And I mean that, I don't mean that I went into it wanting to hate it. I wasn't sure how Reynolds was going to do. But he knocks it out of the park. And in fact, if anything, I will say this. Every single thing on this list today is me being like, oh, this shouldn't have worked, but it did. And it worked in really, really interesting ways. I wanted to say real quick, this also isn't the most solid movie on the list this week. But holy shit, did it do its job well, because I'm like, man, I want to play Pokemon right now.
Yeah, no, we all left the theater going, oh fuck, I buy a Pokemon game, and we're just like, that it's working.
Because that's the thing. So I did have some issues with the third act. So the idea is that in Rhyme City, all this Pokemon work together and they live in harmony, but there's no Pokemon battling because that would make it too much like a video game. So instead, it's all about living in harmony. And the guy who founded the city was some white dude, and the white dude has an evil plan where he wants to merge all the people with Pokemon, which sounds like some sweet Ginjinka stuff, right? No, he just converts people's physical bodies into their Pokemon, and then it's using the power of Mewtwo. And Mewtwo,
yeah.
There was also this weird thing where apparently the dad captured Mewtwo for the Evil Science Corporation, and
then he didn't.
No, I think so he did. But then he found out what they were using it for, and he didn't then.
Yeah.
And also...
Then he was like, fuck it, I'll get him out. I'm a human being.
I'm good guy Ryan Reynolds. And good guy Ryan Reynolds... someone pointed this out, actually, in... Because I was looking up Detective Pikachu stuff right before the show started today. They think one of the reasons why it was so easy for him to... Not easy, but one of the reasons it was possible for him to capture Mewtwo was because essentially it was a pairing of a Pikachu and an older guy trying to catch him, and within this within the movie's canon, this is in fact Kanto Mewtwo. This is the one that was in Mewtwo Strikes Back. Apparently, that is within the canon of it all.
Oh wow, sorry, you saying that it was like just a reference to Ash.
Yeah, fun fact. Like it's and I think that so like some people were pointing it out and saying like that's the reason why Mewtwo was like caught off guard because he was expecting it to be Ash or something like that. And the movie doesn't go too much into it, but the point is that the plot, the big finale reveals that old white guy wants to merge everyone with their Pokemon for better understanding and evolution because he had a degenerative disease that puts him into a wheelchair and stuff like that, and it's so
that lets him ride around in a wheelchair.
Yes, the big positive perk of letting him do that. So I don't know. The movie is very, very charming. It's very solid. I would argue that it's probably the big kids movie of the summer. Well, I don't know. I say that, but when we went to go see the movie, no. Here's the thing, and I want to emphasize this real quick before we go any further into any of these reviews or anything like that. Your audience, if you go to a movie theater, will make or break the movie sometimes. It's something.
Are you talking about that one dude?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
And the dude who was San Francisco, and Mitch got to San Francisco audience in which they were very hoity-toity while watching a Pokemon movie.
Oh no, I forgot all about that guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were referring
No, that guy essentially was just like, yeah, the news just isn't covering these horrible atrocities. But let me tell you, cute white girl, about all that stuff, and let me show you a whole new world for you and me. We'll get there. I was actually going to talk about the fact that in Detective Pikachu, we sat down in the theater and there was a dad and their child, and the child was covered head to toe in Pokemon stuff. That was the cutest thing. And I was like, "Oh." In Ohio, when we go see movies, it's a lot of cynical people and teenagers and stuff like that. But when we went to the movie theater in San Fran, both of the movies we saw, like, because I'll get into it in Aladdin here in a bit, but like, it really makes or breaks it for you, and like, I cannot emphasize that enough. It was just nice. It was very nice. But the point is that Detective Pikachu has a very strong final little moment where Ryan Reynolds Pikachu is like, I'm gonna relearn how to use Thundershock and Thunderbolt and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie, the little finale was real cute. It had its little moment. It felt like a 90s movie, is what.
Yeah.
I was reminded of Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, no, this was a Disney original, definitely. At the last part, it's cute. It's cute and very nostalgic, and see the comment about how great Bulbasaur is. Bulbasaur is so solid.
Bulbasaur makes chirpy noises, and it's cute.
His name, like some of the other Pokemon, he's just cute. Cute. And Charizard's really cool, and Squirtle's really cool. Solid. Fucking, the one thing, though, I'm really glad that they kept Gengar how tall he's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad he's a 5-foot-something boy.
There's
enormous.
There's a lot of like really cute little Pokemon moments, and to be honest with you, I know that there were some people who were skeptical about like the idea of like, oh well, this doesn't have Ash and it's not a direct Pokemon movie. But the truth of the matter is that I think this was the only way to do a adaptation that would work. Because if you did Ash and you did all that stuff, it would be impossible to tell one story from the repertoire or of the entire fucking show's history. It won't work to do a live action movie that way. So to have Rhyme City and Justice Smith, like did a great job. I think that's another thing that I really liked is the main character was real fun. But I don't know. I mean, I know, like I said, we watched this movie like a little late. It's been out for a month already. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a definite
Yeah, no.
recommendation. If you liked Pokemon, even like an inkling, and you like are like me and is in his mid-20s and stuff like that, watching the movie, go check it out. It's real solid. I mean, that's
Oh yeah,
all.
no, definitely. It's like nostalgia fodder.
I will say there's some lines that Pikachu that Pikachu says that feels more like a Ryan Reynolds line than a Pikachu line. But
I mean, that's probably because it is.
yeah. But like I said, it's been out for a while, guys. If you haven't seen it, go check it out at a Dollar Theater or something like that. It is Pikachu's real cute. Look at him on the screen right now. One of my little personal favorite jokes has to do with Magikarp. That was really fun. Um,
Yeah.
but
So
oh, go ahead.
I say that my favorite thing about this fucking movie is still just the fact that the Japanese audience actually prefers the English dub over the Japanese dub.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Rarity, and I appreciate it.
I will say there's one sequence in the movie that kind of lingers, and I wasn't too much of a fan of, and that is going to visit the lab. Um, the lab was a bit
It
much for me.
uh Torteras.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the longest scene ever, and well, interesting to look at. Back to fucking Pokemon shit, honestly.
Well, the only reason it doesn't, I feel like the only reason it doesn't feel like it's a fulfilling scene like is because the big scary turtle monsters wake up and then go back to bed, and like that was it. And that's the whole
Go
sequence.
back to bed, and you don't even get to like see them all the way. You don't even get to see the full scope of how big these Tortegas are.
Yeah. All right. Well, that being said, guys, we're gonna move on to the next one. Detective Pikachu. If you haven't gone to see it, go see it. The next one is the opposite of Detective Pikachu. What is it? The Autopsy of Jane Doe. It's a horror movie that you can watch on Netflix right now, and I would say this is probably I haven't seen that many horror movies in a hot second, but this one definitely was one of the more fun ones I've watched. This one's only
Interesting.
yeah. I feel like this one we kind of have to skirt around spoilers just because of I don't know. I don't know. It. So here's the deal. The premise of this one is a father and son duo are fucking coroners, and their whole job is to determine the. I feel like I said that wrong. I feel like it's not coroners. But
Foreigners, you're fine.
their whole job is to determine the cause of death for a bunch of people, and then report that to the police. And the father keeps making a point that it doesn't. Our job is to only determine the cause of death. It's not to determine anything else about the person. You get the idea that the father is very cold when it comes to these things, and the son is still young, and he's still, he wants to know more. The police give them a corpse that is very odd, very peculiar, and this movie is very. I would say if you are squeamish, you probably shouldn't watch this movie. It's still a good watch, but admittedly, there were some moments where it's like, oh, if I was even remotely not into this, I wouldn't watch this movie.
Well, you got to keep in mind it is called the autopsy. People are getting full autopsy, so they go and they check and then they check the inside.
Right. So, a lot of organs, a lot of like live stuff like that. It's
Titty for like the first good chunk.
yeah, that
Just
too.
solid like titty.
That's also true. If you're not comfortable with that kind of thing, this is not the movie for you. Um, the movie has I would say the movie has like a lot of really interesting ideas, but admittedly some of the execution and I will say the ending ruined the movie for me. Um
Yeah, same. But like, and we've had this conversation after the movie ended. The ending, but the ending definitely had like, it felt like a producer got their grimy money hands all over it and was just like, but what about sequels?
yeah, so I don't know. I'd say the less said about this one the better just because hey, if you haven't gone to see it, go check it out.
Yeah.
If you're
Like, it's very interesting from like a mystery standpoint. If you're into like true crime mystery with like a horror slash supernatural, I'd say it'd be very interesting to watch. I've actually don't think I've seen any mysteries from the perspective of a coroner.
I would like that's something that was brought up frequently while watching the movie was just like, hey, this is a really cool concept. For me, I kind of wish there wasn't the super like the hard supernatural element of it. I wish that they were still like I wish that there could have been like a movie that was like this being told in the one like told in the one room, and the idea is that like you know there maybe it's like oh a cult or something, but like I want it to be more tangible and less supernatural. I want there to still be the threat, but I also want it to be like I don't know. I want something
No, I
that's
totally get it.
steeped like that. I don't know. The point is that hey, Autopsy of Jane Doe. Would I recommend this movie? I'm gonna say maybe. I'm gonna say if you like horror movies and you're into something, you want something a little different. This is definitely a recommendation. I did like the slower pace and the build up and stuff. It felt more fun that way. And we're gonna move on from that because the next one is once again it's weird pacing. Very cute movie, a horror movie. Back to cute movie. We're talking. Oh, this was not the right image, but it's okay. Will Smith,
That's
Genie.
it.
Uh,
Back to horror movie. Okay.
all right. So here's the deal. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was ready to go into Disney's Aladdin, ready to hate the movie. But it fucking knocked it out of the park. I'm not gonna lie. Will Smith carries this movie on his fucking shoulders, and it's good. It's charming. It's fun. I'm gonna say
Yeah,
this.
not a bad year for the Smiths, honestly.
Justice Smith. Um, it's I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm not like I was surprised how much, and I need to emphasize once again how an audience can make or break something for you. I cannot emphasize that enough, and the reason why is because I went to see this movie in the afternoon. We were waiting for our flight, right, and we had like a couple hours to kill, and it was it was just like on like a Sunday afternoon, and we were like, fuck it, let's just go watch one more movie. We go to the theater, and it is filled with little kids and some adults and stuff like that, and I don't know, there was something about that like that pure like that pure innocence of like not knowing what the other Aladdin was and like
Oh God, you're right. Yeah, no. Oh God.
and like having that like be like because there's moments where the little kids were actually like wow look at all the magic and stuff that's happening on screen, and I'm like for some reason I was like you know what it was the atmosphere of a non-bitter audience that I think really made this movie work for me, because like I was ready to go into it being like oh this is gonna be stupid. No, in fact this I would argue that this is probably one of the better movies that was released by Disney. um this can I would say that like Will Smith has his own charm to it, and by the end of the movie I don't know, I was looking forward to seeing him on screen doing something fun, like you know they really took a charismatic actor like they did with the first one, and he ironically is the one that carries the movie. Aladdin has a couple weird moments. Just like him personally, like the way that they have to kind of redo some of the songs is weird, but it's also charming. Like the thing with Alan Menken's music is that you can apply it to anything, and it probably still works. That's why I've seen Beauty and the Beast like 2 or 3 times now. Like whether it was intentional or not, like you can get through it because
Are you talking about the live action Beauty and the Beast?
yeah, Like, I saw it once as a joke, and then I kind of saw it the other times, like, you know, whether it was intentional or not. Like, it has problems, but it still kind of works here and there. And like, I would say the same thing about this movie. It has its moments where I'm like, but for the most part, it's actually a really good watch. I'd highly recommend it. In fact, I'd say if you haven't seen, if you want just a fun adventure, go watch this movie because what was it? So it wasn't just the kids. Like the kids was part of it, but there was this guy next to Tabby, a grown adult man who I don't think had any context to what Aladdin was. But like,
What?
yeah, I know. So he was this grown adult man who I don't think had any context to what Aladdin was, because every now and then I'd hear him be like, there'd be like Aladdin would pull his little hand, would pull his little dex roll kind of thing, and he'd steal something, or like he would like do a little flick of the wrist kind of trick, and you'd hear this guy like the kids would go wow, and then you'd hear this guy like, how did he do that? It was just like the most,
Oh my god.
the most genuine like reaction to something, and I'm like, oh, like you've never seen, like, you know, like, have you not seen this movie before, adult man? Um, it
Well,
was
I mean, there's a good chance he hasn't.
yeah, and that's the thing, like, and so like I don't know. It really made the experience, I think, was just having a bunch of people who probably didn't know what the original Land was or hadn't watched it before, including that adult man. And it was just a nice change of pace. I'm really glad I went to go see it like with the audience that I saw it with, because I didn't feel like I was so ready to hate it, but
Yeah.
it became so much more lighthearted, and I did enjoy the world they built. And I will hand it to Guy Ritchie. I didn't have a lot of faith in his directing, but it did at the end of the day sell. And I think that it worked for what it was worth. And I cannot emphasize enough how that audience changed my feelings about how I wanted to go into it. And same thing with, I guess you could say, about Marvel movies, is you go see it opening day because everyone's going to scream and holler at the screen. But then I saw Endgame and that didn't happen. And I think that definitely impacted how I felt about the movie.
Can I just say though that if you fucking love the original Aladdin and you're having a good time, the only thing I can say is you don't expect songs to sound the same. They're not going to.
Yeah,
Straight up.
well, yeah, because was it, they used Menken's original stuff, and I think they rewrote some of the stuff, and then like some of the songs are weird. Although I will say, Prince Ali, real fun, real solid. Will Smith really sells it. They do a couple lyric changes that threw me off, and it was really just fun, and I actually laughed. There's also, I don't know, just the way that the movie's presented, I would argue is fun. And yeah, you can look at it very cynically and be like, well, the movie was made, you know, as part of the big live action, but also to kind of make the movies more progressive. And there's a couple moments like that. They added some Jasmine songs about being seen but not heard, kind of vibe.
Oh Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, it does kind of like, but
Says that attacks people with her fucking tiger. How dare they not hear me?
but like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't feel that shoot in when, I don't know. There is one moment, one very very specific moment where Jafar takes over and her song starts up, and I was like, are you for real right now? And she like moves, and the guards disappear, and I'm like, oh, it's in the cityscape of your mind. Okay, and like I'm like, that's the one thing I would say doesn't work for the movie is they tried to do some things here and there that just doesn't work, but for the most part, all the changes are positive. Like I said, if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and check it out. It is a fun. I will say I love the ending little chase sequence through the city. I think that even though Jafar doesn't turn into a giant snake, it is still a very fun big sorcerer moment. It's bombastic and fun. It's a great adventure film.
And also he's hot now, so I mean, I guess it's cool.
They also changed one of the details about Jafar. They say, hey, you know, they did a little bit of a Javert moment where Aladdin's like, you wouldn't get it. And then like Jafar steals something from Aladdin. He's like, no, I also was a street rat like you. I just did things, you know, differently. And they really emphasized the greed. They also changed some wording that I really, really appreciated, because I don't know. They, like I said, I could talk in circles about this, but it's good.
You say that, and the first thing that popped into my head was Star Kids Twisted. There, you just like I got like full fucking twisted fucking flashbacks where he's just like, how could my twisted? And I'm just like, oh my god, okay.
They do some things that are really like that's a thing. They do some things that I really appreciate. Like every character has their sense of presence. They add, instead of having Prince Ahmed, they have some Norwegian guy. And it's a pretty funny bit, I'm not gonna lie, just having this white dude come all the way from the other side of the world. I don't know. It's also just nice to see some of these actors like do their fun stuff. But anyways, the point is that if you haven't gone to see Aladdin, go see it. It's very solid. It's just fun. And that's something that I need to emphasize before we get into the next one. It is okay to have fun at a movie theater. If this was me maybe 4 years ago where I was incredibly cynical about movies, I don't know. I feel like the cityscape, the cityscape, the landscape for movies, in my opinion, has improved a lot from some of the stuff we've gotten. Maybe I'm gonna say 5 years ago, and I'm saying that because I'm gonna go into this one, and this one's gonna be a little harder to kind of review because I am with the audience, and sometimes I'm with the critics, but I'm gonna say this next one's a little harder to kind of justify. Godzilla King of Monsters might have been the best movie I saw this summer, and that's including Marvel's Endgame.
I find like the critics always do shit way too harsh.
Okay, so here's the thing. Godzilla King of Monsters. It is not a perfect movie. It is not perfect by far. But I would argue that after getting Godzilla 2014, that this is probably the best adaptation of a kaiju movie to the screen since Pacific Rim. I would argue that this is the most faithful and most fun and most just enjoyable Godzilla movie. Not everything has to make sense. If you've never seen a Godzilla movie from Japan, fucking not everything needs to make sense. And there's a lot of people out there who are criticizing the movie and being like, oh well, spectacle, or it's like, CGI effects can't be a stand-in for like a good story. Can't. Fuck you. I don't need to look, I know that CGI effects don't need to make a stand-in for a good movie. And in fact, I would have been with you a few years ago.
Yeah,
but I'm really tired of this idea that like, well, you have to have CGI effects and a good story, or you have to have a good story but like, maybe the CG sucks or something like that. There has to be this balance. Godzilla is about a giant fucking lizard monster, a force of fucking nature, fighting against King Ghidorah, another force of nature. Let's get into the premise a bit before we go any further, because I feel like I skipped that part. And I also skipped that part with Aladdin, but, I mean, you've seen Aladdin, right? So, if you haven't seen Aladdin...
Can I just preface this, because I just pulled it up? Godzilla King of Monsters, with the critics, sits at a 39%.
Yeah, it decreased since I made that little Twitter post about it.
With the audience score, though, it's 87% positive.
Okay, so we're gonna get into that. The premise of Godzilla King of Monsters came up this weekend is it has been 5 years since the events of Godzilla 2014. San Francisco was destroyed and in that giant fight, and Godzilla went back into the ocean, and the organization Monarch has been monitoring a bunch of different kaiju across the world that are in kind of like this hibernation kind of situation. And Monarch went to each one of these sites, built up a little like fortress, and said, "Hey, we're gonna monitor like all these kaiju. We're gonna monitor all these titans." The movie calls them titans, and
that's fair.
And the world government says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! do you know where these monsters are? And if so, why haven't you killed them yet? To which Monarch replies, well, we think that we can, like, some of these monsters are evil, but some of them are also good. And we think that these essentially, the way the Monarch sees it is the Titans are a response to humanity. They are the original owners of the planet, and they went into hibernation a long time ago, and humans just kind of overrun and destroyed the planet, and that the reason why the kaiju are coming back is because they are essentially the antibody to humanity.
I don't mean to interrupt, but one of the questions in the chat is Ex Mothra canon. Twitter has been telling me things and I don't know how to react.
We'll get there. So essentially the main two parent characters in the movie make this device called the Orca, and it's supposed to replicate the kaiju alpha sounds, so that apparently all the kaiju, all the monsters across the world respond to this thing called the Orca, and they respond to an alpha, and in this case Godzilla is the alpha. They do this really interesting thing where they have it so that the wife character, whose name escapes me right now, I think they do this thing where she makes the device, but he, like, the husband character, who also escapes me right now, he studies packs of wolves and animals and stuff like that, and so that's kind of his expertise, is being like, oh, well, they're all responding to an alpha. All the other kaiju are extensions of him, and yada yada yada. So evil organization, eco-terrorist organization, believes that nature should be returned to its original state.
Oh god, yeah.
And they take the device and they awaken King Ghidorah, a giant 3-headed dragon monster that can shoot plasma out of its fucking mouth and can summon fucking thunderstorms.
I don't know why they thought. Ugh. God, I get that they're like eco-terrorists and they're like, yeah, but nature. Creatures are fucking nightmares that are usually pretty radioactive.
Well, okay, so we're gonna get into that, right? So the point is that the eco-terrorists awaken King Ghidorah, and it turns out that wife mother character is actually the one who called the eco-terrorists, and she has she switched over, and that the whole plan is that King Ghidorah is going to lead the new kaijus across the world and awaken them, so that their radioactive energy, like, they're not radioactive, but their fucking immense energy will rebirth a new world, because that's a thing. And so it's up to main character and all the fun guys at Monarch to try to team up with Godzilla and stop King Ghidorah and the eco-terrorists. So here's the problem with the film, right out the gate. The eco-terrorist storyline kind of falls off. They bring it back at the very, 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 very post-credit scene. But the eco-terrorist bit kind of falls off, and I was okay with that, but I guess some people aren't. Because the eco-terrorist thing was more of like an emphasis point for just, it was the excuse to bring Ghidorah into the story. I could see why people would have a problem with that. I absolutely 100% do, especially because apparently the guy who leads the fucking eco-terrorists is a Game of Thrones actor, and if I've learned anything over the last few years of not watching Game of Thrones, it's that whenever a Game of Thrones actor is in anything, the entire internet decides this character must be the best character ever. I saw it happen with fucking Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I saw it happen with Terminator Genesis. It's apparently a thing.
Mitch, you can't say that. You loved Aquaman.
I did love Aquaman, but I also...
He's a Game of Thrones character.
I didn't know him from Game of Thrones. I knew him from being Polynesian. I say, yes, you are right. I found out about Khal Drogo much later on, but the point is that I don't know a jack shit about Game of Thrones. So you have this big cast of actors also And admittedly, you know, it really just depends on your perspective, because it depends on what you're going in the movie for. If you're here to watch a 2014 Godzilla, you, sir, are not getting that movie. You are not getting Godzilla 2014, because guess what? I remember Godzilla 2014, and I remember seeing that thing opening day, and I remember my biggest criticism about that fucking movie was, hey, this is called Godzilla. You killed off Bryan Cranston within the first 20 minutes of the movie, and Cranston has the power to make me cry within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Really?
Yeah. Very first scene of the movie, there's this bit with the Mutos, and the idea is that, like, him and his wife work together, and long story short, his wife dies, but he can deliver so much in a fucking scene, and you see a man who was desperate, and you know, Cranston is such a good fucking actor, and I hate the fact that they killed that guy off, and then you're stuck with the fucking the acting leftovers of every other cast member of that fucking movie. The point is that if you're looking for a human story and you want to see a human story in a Godzilla movie, go watch Shin Godzilla. It came out 2016. It's pretty good. It's all human and like 5 minutes of Godzilla. So the point is, King of Monsters delivers on its promise of being King of Monsters. Every time you see King Ghidorah on screen, they really are trying to sell King Ghidorah, but I mean, of course you would. He looks cool as shit. He's a giant three-headed dragon.
He is literally Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, it is real solid.
He is the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Everywhere he goes, and I cannot emphasize this enough, there is a real force of nature feeling with all of these giant monsters, and that's something they're really trying to sell you on as an audience. Every time you see Godzilla on the screen, you know, he's affiliated, you know, his element is the ocean and all that stuff. Like, you get it, you get the sense and scale of it, you get the immense godlike presence of these characters. Whenever King Ghidorah is on screen, you know what happens? When he flies anywhere on the planet, guess what? They didn't know this at first, because they were like, oh, we lost him, but also there's a giant tropical storm, a giant hurricane full of electricity and strong winds that's turning now, that's reacting to fucking Rodan, who came out of a giant flaming pterodactyl who came out of a volcano. Every time one of the kaiju are on screen, their presence, their sheer godlike presence, can be felt, because the way that they did it was that they made each one of them feel like a force of fucking nature. When Ghidorah attacks fucking Boston, guess what? Some of it's flooded, because he brought a whole storm with him, and they do all this shit to really emphasize just the sheer power of nature each one of these gods possess. As far as I can tell, it's fucking beautiful every time, every single time. And if you're not into that, why did you go see Godzilla? Like,
oh my god.
I know that, like, maybe it's like, oh well, Mitchell, you can't ignore the story. Well, yeah, I'm not ignoring the story. There's tons of problems with the story. Like, there's weird moments where some characters just drop off. Like the ego terrorist I was talking about. Yeah, they just drop off. Like, they are brought back in a post-credit scene where they buy one of the heads of King Ghidorah because, hey, guess what? King Ghidorah was the fucking apex predator, and he's cool. He's a fucking cool monster. Rodan, he's a big pterodactyl man. And like that's it. That's all you need to know about his fucking character. He came from fucking Mexico, not Mexico, but he came from South or Central America. It's Central America, and that's all you need to know.
There's about one of the kaijus in specific.
What's up? What'd you say?
Can I ask about one of the kaijus in specific?
Yes.
You know who I want to ask about?
Mothra. Yeah.
My girl.
Okay, so Mothra, so that question you asked earlier, Twitter, about Godzilla X Mothra. So there's a scene in the movie where Godzilla, it's a real fun callback to the oxygen destroyer, right? The big bomb that kills the original OG Godzilla in the original movie. So they launch that bomb to go and try to kill Ghidorah and Godzilla in mid-fight, like halfway through the movie, right? And it is super effective on Godzilla, but it doesn't affect Ghidorah at all. And they do some really good things in terms of the plot about how, like, they drop some little hints and stuff like that I think really worked. Like the way that they drop the fact that Ghidorah is an alien is really cool to me, because they emphasize the idea of the mythology of these characters. You know, these creatures have been documented by our ancestors throughout the history, and that history became mythology. And you know, there's this cool sense of, I don't know, just everything about it's just really neat. But the point is that Godzilla gets horribly injured, and Mothra is looking for Godzilla. And there's a character who's like, "Wait, so are Godzilla and Mothra like a thing?" Well, it turns out that Mothra and Godzilla have a symbiotic relationship. While Godzilla can be considered the king of monsters because he's considered an apex predator, Mothra is the queen of monsters. And they kind of have that moment, right, where they kind of emphasize that. And the fact that Mothra comes into the screen at all is to emphasize that she is looking for Godzilla because they need to take down Ghidorah. So they go into a submarine, and they go find that Godzilla actually... The Earth is, in fact, hollow. It's a hollow Earth. And that Godzilla is resting in the ancient ruins of a place where he was worshipped as a god, because in one of the rooms there's tons and tons of radioactivity, and it heals him. The radioactivity heals him. And so I'm going on a tangent, but the point is that the movie's fucking cool. The movie is fucking cool, and I cannot emphasize that enough. I guess the reason... I guess the reason I'm so upset with the film critics is I don't understand what you were expecting. Like, I don't get it. That's like going into fucking... Like, a lot of their criticisms is like, oh, well, we didn't get a really good chance to see all the human characters. And I would argue we had plenty of time to see all the human characters. I think what you're looking for is you're looking for a movie like 2014 Godzilla, and you're not looking for something like this, where this is a big love letter to kaiju and Godzilla and this type of movie in general. You are looking for a character drama. You were expecting the story you got in 2014 about a soldier who has to fight and defend while two giant monsters fight each other. And I hate to tell you this, but I hated that movie. I liked it, but I also really hated the pacing, and I hate the fact that they kept teasing Godzilla through camera lenses rather than showing us the big kaiju battle I wanted to see. And it wasn't just me that thought that. There was tons and tons of people who believed that the legendary 2014 Godzilla movie had a big problem, and that was the fact that the kaiju that were in it were treated like a Cloverfield monster rather than the presence that you would expect from Godzilla himself. In fact, you don't really get a good look at the monster until, I don't know, like maybe 2/3 of the movie. So anyways, the point is, this movie's really solid. Don't listen to anything the critics are saying, because they're wanting something that they clearly didn't get, and they're bitter about it. I would say trust the audience scores on this one. If you're in the mood to watch giant monsters, giant forces of nature that are radioactive and have cool fucking abilities and shit like that fight each other on the big screen, and you want to see, and you're fascinated by like what plot they do give you, go see this fucking movie. It is amazing. It is fun. And if you're going into the theater thinking that, hey, I just want to have a good time right now, or hey, I want to watch these, I want to watch big forces of nature fight against each other, and you can get drawn into that storyline plot, you're fucking sold, dude. Don't listen to the rest of these people. The rest of these people wanted a human drama. They wanted something that just isn't there. But I don't know. I feel like I also have too many horses in this race, because I as a teen I really liked Godzilla and kaiju and stuff like that. And this was the movie I wanted, so I guess maybe that's why I'm so driven to be like, please just go see it, please.
Yeah.
But oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Fucking I know I have been just talking your ear off for like the last week or so about fucking my love for Mothra. Glad that Mothra was at least semi-important.
No, Mothra is because they show Mothra through all the stages, the cocoon, the larva, and that's the thing. Like the special effects are just really solid. And I like the story. I don't know why people have such a problem with it. Well, I do, but that's not either here nor there. Anyways, guys, we're gonna end off today's Mitch's Minute. We did kind of go. It's not that we went long, but I just wanted to devote a bunch of time to all the movies and stuff that I watched. I also felt because I did all 4 of them in a row, I kind of missed a lot of details and stuff. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to send any of your concerns about the movies that we talked about today to savepointcity@gmail.com. That's savepointcity@gmail.com. And I will go ahead and once we get emails going, I will read those off to the audience next time. So anyways, guys, we will have more channel updates in the upcoming weeks. We do have an idea of when we want to launch the channel. I'm hoping to get everything set up hopefully by July 1st. So July 1st is when I'm hoping that everything can get launched and everything will be set. We're still making some stuff here and there. And admittedly, we've had some rough weeks in terms of just trying to get all the videos recorded and stuff like that. But I mean, once we get the machine rolling, I think we'll have an easier time getting everything done. So anyways, guys, we'll catch you guys next time on Mitch's Minute. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to email. And we'll catch you next time. It's also really warm in this room, and I need to end the episode. So later!
Later.